don't just want the news, they want the truth. What others hide, I bring to you with evidence. Politics, corruption, human rights. No filters, no fear, just facts. I don't stop until the system shakes. Hello and welcome to Trending Daily. I'm Makhdoom Shahabuddin. Pakistan's latest diplomatic move toward Tehran has attracted serious attention across the region. Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi's visit to Tehran comes at a particularly sensitive moment for Pakistan's foreign policy. Just days earlier, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Türkiye signed the Makkah Joint Defence Agreement, creating a new trilateral security arrangement in which an armed attack against one member is to be treated as an attack against all three. So the question is straightforward. Why did Pakistan send Mohsin Naqvi to Tehran immediately after this major defense agreement? Is Pakistan trying to reassure Iran? Is Islamabad attempting to prevent the new defense partnership from being interpreted as an anti-Iran alliance? And perhaps most importantly, can Pakistan maintain close strategic relations with Saudi Arabia and Türkiye while simultaneously keeping its relationship with neighboring Iran stable? To understand the importance of Naqvi's Tehran visit, we first need to understand what has changed in the regional security environment. The Defense Pact changed the regional equation. On August 7, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Türkiye signed the Makkah Joint Defence Agreement. The agreement represents a major development in regional security cooperation. Its central principle is that an armed attack against one member will be considered an attack against all three. That language carries enormous strategic weight. It creates a stronger deterrence framework among three countries with very different but complementary capabilities. Saudi Arabia brings enormous economic influence, strategic geography and energy importance. Türkiye brings significant defense technology, military capabilities and a major geopolitical position connecting Europe, the Middle East and Asia. Pakistan brings decades of military experience, a large standing military and a nuclear deterrence capability. Together, these three countries can create a much stronger strategic network than any one of them could create alone. But there is another side to the story. The agreement was signed at a time when the Middle East remains deeply unstable and relations between Israel and several regional powers remain extremely sensitive. That is why Tehran is watching Islamabad very carefully. Iran does not want to see Pakistan become part of regional security structure that could eventually be used against it. Pakistan, on the other hand, has a very different strategic calculation. Iran is not simply another regional state. Iran is Pakistan's immediate western neighbor. The two countries share a long border, they share important cultural and historic links, they have significant interests in border security, trade, energy and regional stability. For Pakistan, therefore, maintaining communication with Tehran is not optional. It is strategically necessary. Why Naqvi's visit matters? This is where Mohsin Naqvi's visit becomes extremely important. According to reports, Naqvi met Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian and Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi during his Tehran engagement. Pakistan has also repeatedly used Naqvi as part of its diplomatic efforts concerning Iran and regional tension. The latest visit is particularly significant because it comes after the signing of the Makkah Defence Agreement. The timing itself sends a message. Pakistan is telling Tehran that its new defence relationships with Saudi Arabia and Türkiye should not automatically be interpreted as hostility toward Iran. The distinction is extremely important. Pakistan is attempting to tell all sides that stronger defense cooperation with one group does not necessarily mean abandoning relations with another. This is a difficult diplomatic balancing act. Islamabad wants strong relations with Riyadh. Islamabad wants strong relations with Ankara. At the same time, Islamabad cannot afford a breakdown in relations with Tehran. And that is precisely why Naqvi's visit carries more significance than an ordinary bilateral meeting. Pakistan has historically attempted to maintain working relations with both Saudi Arabia and Iran. That balancing act has never been easy. Saudi Arabia is an important strategic and economic partner for Pakistan. Iran is Pakistan's neighbor. Pakistan therefore has different reasons for maintaining strong relations with each other. The Makkah Agreement has made this balancing act more complicated. Before the new pact, Pakistan and Saudi Arabia already had a strategic mutual defense agreement signed in September 2025. That agreement stated that aggression against one country would be considered aggression against both. Pakistan has also already taken concrete steps under this relationship. In April 2026, Saudi Arabia announced the arrival of a Pakistani military force at King Abdulaziz Air Base, saying the deployment was carried out under the Strategic Mutual Defense Agreement and was intended to strengthen military coordination and operational readiness. Now, with Turkey joining the framework, the security relationship has expanded. From Tehran's perspective, the obvious question becomes, where does Iran fit into this new regional security architecture? Pakistan needs to answer that question carefully, and Naqvi's visit can be viewed as a part of that answer. The most important message Pakistan can send to Iran is that the Makkah Defence Agreement is defensive rather than an arrangement aimed specifically at Tehran. That point has already been emphasized by the signatories. Reuters reported that Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan described the agreement as comparable in principle to NATO's Article 5, while also stressing that it was not directed specifically against Iran or any other state. This distinction is vital. A collective defense agreement can strengthen deterrence without necessarily becoming an offensive alliance. Pakistan has a strong interest in keeping that distinction clear. If Tehran begins to view the new pact as a direct threat, the consequences could be very serious. Pakistan could face greater diplomatic pressure from Iran, border security could become more complicated, economic cooperation could suffer, regional tensions could increase, and Pakistan could find itself caught between two competing regional blocs. That is precisely what Islamabad wants to avoid. Pakistan's relationship with Iran is not simply about diplomacy, it is also about geography. The two countries share a border stretching across Balochistan. Border security is therefore a permanent concern. Pakistan has repeatedly faced security challenges along its western frontier, while Iran also has security concern in its southeastern regions. Neither country benefits from instability along the border. This makes security cooperation one of the most practical areas where Islamabad and Tehran can work together. There is also the issue of trade. Pakistan and Iran have repeatedly expressed interest in increasing bilateral commerce. Border markets, transportation links, and regional connectivity can create economic opportunities for communities on both sides. Energy is another major area. Pakistan remains an energy-hungry country, while Iran possesses substantial energy resources. Any improvement in the regional security environment can potentially create more space for economic cooperation. That is why Pakistan cannot allow the defense partnership with Saudi Arabia and Türkiye to damage its relationship with Iran. The cost would be high. The diplomatic significance of Naqvi's visit matters. It matters to the diplomatic role Pakistan has played among the regional tensions. Pakistan has previously been involved in efforts to facilitate communication between Iran and the United States. The Pakistani Foreign Office has described peace efforts involving Iran and United States as a matter of national importance and has emphasized that Pakistan's diplomatic efforts involve the country's broader leadership rather than one ministry alone. Naqvi's repeated engagement with Tehran therefore needs to be understood in a broader context. Pakistan wants to position itself as a country that can speak to different sides. It wants to maintain communication with Saudi Arabia. It wants to maintain communication with Iran. It has strong ties with Turkey. It also wants to remain relevant in wider diplomatic efforts involving the United States and Middle East. That gives Islamabad an opportunity, but it also creates a responsibility. The more Pakistan presents itself as a bridge between competing regional powers, the more carefully it has to manage its own strategic commitments. Could the defense pact create pressure on Pakistan? This is one of the biggest questions. If tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran increase again, Pakistan could face a difficult choice. Its defense agreement with Saudi Arabia creates a clear strategic commitment. At the same time, Pakistan has an important relationship with Iran. This means Islamabad has a strong incentive to prevent regional disputes from reaching the point where Pakistan is forced to choose one side against the other. That makes diplomacy even more important than ever. Pakistan does not want its new defense arrangement to become a trigger for confrontation. Instead, Islamabad has an interest in presenting the agreement as a mechanism for deterrence and regional stability. The visit of Mohsin Naqvi shows that Islamabad is trying to manage several relationships at the same time. The defense pact is one track, relations with Iran are another, regional mediation is another, economic interests are another. Pakistan's challenge is to make sure these tracks do not collide. What happens next? The real test will come after the diplomatic visits. Words are important, but implementation is more important. Pakistan will need to explain the strategic purpose of the Makkah Agreement clearly. It will need to maintain direct communication with Tehran. It will need to strengthen border security cooperation with Iran. It will need to continue economic engagement, and it will need to make sure its new defense commitments do not unnecessarily increase tensions with neighboring states. At the same time, Pakistan will need to work with Saudi Arabia and Türkiye to ensure that the new framework remains focused on deterrence and collective security. The agreement is still new. Its institutional mechanisms and operational details are still developing. Reuters reported that a ministerial committee and secretariat are expected to support the arrangement, with further operational arrangements and details to be discussed through the agreement's institutional process. Naqvi's Tehran engagement now represents the diplomatic test of that position. Can Pakistan build stronger defense partnerships without creating new enemies? Can Islamabad maintain trust with Riyadh while reassuring Tehran? And can Pakistan emerge not as a party to regional confrontation but as a country capable of talking to all sides? Those questions will determine just how strategically important this Tehran visit becomes. For now, one thing is clear. After the Makkah Defence Agreement, Pakistan's dialogue with Tehran is no longer simply about bilateral relations. It's about managing an increasingly complex regional balance. And that makes Mohsin Naqvi's Tehran visit a development worth watching very closely. This was Trending Daily. I'm Makhdoom Shahabuddin. See you in the next episode.